The Special Fathers Network is thrilled to be sponsored by Rubin Law, a multi-generational law firm dedicated exclusively to serving families raising children with special needs. It's not one thing they do, it's the only thing they do. To find out more, go to rubinlaw.com, RUBIN law.com, or call 847-279-7999 and mention the Special Fathers Network for a free consultation. 847-279-7999, Rubin Law.
So I became the dad of the NICU. If the nurses wanted a baby to stop crying and they had no one to hold the baby, they would come over and say, Mr. Anthony, do you mind doing some time in the rocking chair over there with the babies? And I would go, I'm here. What can I do to help? You guys gave my child life. Least I can do is help. So you're talking 2, 3 o'clock in the morning. I'm in the rocking chair, and they're taking turns giving me the babies. And I'm just doing this with a bare chest just on me, holding babies. And many of the wives, I didn't know I was giving them a break.
That's our guest this week, Tony Gayle. Tony is an Army and Marine veteran and a father of a son with special needs. He's got an amazing story to tell, and we're hearing it in 2 parts. Last week, we heard how Tony grew up with a military dad, and later, how he almost lost his son Hezekiah at childbirth, only to have his wife die shortly thereafter due to complications from that childbirth. This week, in part 2, we'll hear how Tony and his son have struggled to recover from that loss and continue to move forward. It's an incredible story from an incredibly powerful storyteller, and it's all in this Special Fathers Network Dad to Dad podcast. Here's your host, David Hirsch.
Hi, and thanks for listening to the Dad to Dad podcast, Fathers Mentoring Fathers of Children with Special Needs, presented by the Special Fathers Network.
The Special Fathers Network is a dad-to-dad mentoring program for fathers raising children with special needs. Through our personalized matching process, new fathers with special needs children connect with mentor fathers in a similar situation. It's a great way for dads to support dads. To find out more, go to 21stcenturydads.org.
And if you're a dad looking for help or would like to offer help, we'd be honored to have you join our closed Facebook group. Please go to facebook.com/groups and search Dad to Dad.
And now let's listen to the conclusion of this conversation between David Hirsch and Tony Gayle.
No explanation. They don't know what happened. They did the best they could. And keep in my mind, I'm realizing they gave us a couple more hours. That nurse practitioner brought my son back from the dead. I mean, yes, other people would get a lawyer and other people would try to fight this and I got a couple of hours with my wife, and I have a son who's running around the house. And I'm just thinking to myself, be grateful for what you have. Don't try to fight the medical system and tell them how wrong they make mistakes all the time. It's life. It's a job. They make mistakes. But my wife wanted us to have a child, and we do. And I'm just going to do the best I can to continue on our mission.
Yeah, well, thanks for sharing. My heart really reaches out to you. Like I said, that's really heavy to have a child come into the world the way you just described, and then to lose the love of your life, almost simultaneously. It's just a crazy situation. So I remember you telling me that you had to pick a name for your son.
Yes. That there's books in the NICU unit, because they tell me that because he was born at 7 months, that's 29 weeks. We're going to be there until he's prepared, he's able to breathe and do everything on his own. And the same nurse practitioner said that could be 3 months, 4 months, 5 months. 3 months is what we're aiming for. And I'm realizing I'm going to be sleeping here homeless for 3 months because you're not getting me out of this NICU unit. I am sorry. It's not going to happen. And everyone knew that. So I looked into these books of names, and we talked about it. I just needed something strong. I needed something to get me through. I needed something that when I say it, it reminds me of what I'm supposed to do and what I'm supposed to. And I always had a Bible, so Kings, King Hezekiah, very loyal to the Lord, and because of it, his name is bestowed the strength of God, and that's what I needed. I needed every time I say his name that I'm reminded that I'm not alone, and that I'm reminded that I have strength, that even I don't feel it, I don't really see it, but there is strength that I can pull from or use when I need it to get through every day. So I say my son's name so much that he'll come running to me at times, "Daddy, did you call my name?" And I'm realizing this is the same kid that was 2 pounds, 4 ounces, and was dead. And now he's telling me, "Daddy, did you call my name?" And I'm like, "Yes." And he goes, "Are you okay?" He always asks me every day, "Are you okay?" And I say, "No, I'm not. But I'm going to be okay." And he always says, "Why do you say that?" And I always say, "Because I'm calling your name." So one day he'll understand. One day.
Wow. So how much time did he end up spending in the NICU, and when was he able to go home? 3 months.
3 months. 3 months. They told me in order for him to leave here at 3 months, we're going to have to do kangarooing every day for a little bit longer than normal. Now, listen, if it's a weapon system, I got you covered. Electronics, explosives, anything military, I got you. Interrogation, oh, I got you. Kangarooing. I'm like, what, are we going to the zoo every day? What's going on with this? And they're laughing at me going, "You don't know what that is, do you?" I'm like, I have no clue. Are we going to the zoo? Because I want to see a kangaroo. I really love kangaroos. And they're like, "No, sir, it means bare chested. Your child has to lay on you." And I'm just sitting there thinking, what does that do? I mean, come on, please, really? And that's when I start to realize how little I knew about anything at all with children, babies, infants. So every day for 3 months, sir, hours on end, whenever he wasn't getting a solar panel, suntan type experience in that incubator, that child that now is almost taller than me was on my chest, 2 pounds and 4 ounces, just laying right here. And I'm just lying there holding him. And I just started reading. I had nothing else to do. So I would hold my Bible over him reading. So people would come in, and a lot of moms in the NICU unit, but unfortunately very few dads. So I became the dad of the NICU. If the nurses wanted a baby to stop crying and they had no one to hold the baby, they would come over and say, "Mr. Anthony, do you mind doing some time in the rocking chair over there with the babies?" And I would go, "I'm here. What can I do to help? You guys gave my child life. Least I can do is help." So you're talking 2, 3 o'clock in the morning. I'm in the rocking chair, and they're taking turns giving me the babies. And I'm just doing this with a bare chest just on me, holding babies. And many of the wives, I didn't know I was giving them a break. I didn't know because some of those women didn't have husbands or boyfriends that would take the time to come in. So I don't know what number. I didn't think about it. I just said, if I'm awake, put a baby in my arms. That's how I felt. And I just kept rocking. So for 3 months I did that. And there's a number, I guess, of children that I helped rock to sleep. Like I said, I didn't count. I just felt if I'm here, this is my new mission. So I'm going to keep going.
Yeah, well, amazing story. Very powerful. So Hezi gets the strength to come home. And it's just the two of you guys.
Yes. It's just the two of us. There, people ask me all the time, isn't there a family? Yes, there is. I focus on the positive. I don't care about the negative. I know it's out there. It's the world we live in. I focus on the positive. So because there is an issue with myself being mixed, I'm a little bit of everything. I'm a gumbo. I'm white, black, Spanish, everything.
But people would see you as a black man, right? I'm just being objective.
Yes, exactly. So you would think that there's no issues there. The issues are my wife's family are predominantly black Texan cowboys, and they're having issue with one particular thing. Nothing against them. I understand their history, and their one issue is with those who speak Spanish. They're black Texan cowboys. They've had to fight turf wars and territorial wars with their ranches with what was once Mexico. I mean, let's be honest. So they go back in history of having members of the family who were at the Alamo, where Spanish speaking is not a pleasant thing for them. It's actually seen as a derogatory thing. So here I'm fluent speaking Spanish, actually more than English. And I don't stop speaking Spanish because I'm around them. So I become the black sheep, no pun intended, because I speak Spanish. And they don't want me around. They literally don't want me around the rest of the family. They don't want me around because whenever I see someone Spanish, or pretty much anybody, I'm very friendly. Hola, ¿cómo está? They don't want to hear that. They don't want to hear any Spanish words out of my mouth. They just have this thing about that. And because of it, I just make a decision. If I'm going to be around anybody, they have to be loving and have the Lord in their heart. And if you don't, I just decided, it's going to be my son and I. So for the most part, yes, there are it's a huge family that my wife comes from. But until you, friend or foe, are loving and caring and just unconditionally loving with no hate in your heart, you're not going to get around my son. So for that purpose, it's my son and I. And those who get close, get close.
Well, thank you for explaining. It seems a little isolating, but I think I understand what you were saying.
Yes.
So at what point did you get Hezi diagnosed, and what is his diagnosis?
I did research. I wanted to know where, not in the state or county, I wanted to know in the country of United States of America, where could I take my son for the biggest and the best bang for healthcare bucks. And it led to finding studies say that at the time, Pullman, Washington, at the time, happened to have the most PhDs per capita for speech therapy, cognitive therapy, everything that he was going to need. Speech, physical, whatever he was going to need, they had more PhDs, and all the therapists were connected to the university, and the population was small, and it was voted best city to live in Washington State year after year after year after year. So I said, let's go and visit. And a visit became, within 1 week of visiting, someone was hinted in their therapy group that someone is in their town who's a single father with a child who has the title of developmentally delayed. Sir, I need you to think about this. And as I'm saying it, I was visiting. I wasn't even a resident of Washington, and someone knocks on the door where I am and says, "Hi, we're therapists for speech, and we hear that you're visiting with Hezekiah. Can we meet him?" And in my head, I'm thinking, I haven't even been visited from the therapist where I am a resident. And here I'm visiting a place, and you come to visit. I know where I'm going to live. And they visited with him, and I watched them play with my son in the living room. And I had a place that had a living room set up and basically like a kitchenette. And I just watched these angels that I call them come in and just help my son out and get him to respond where I never could get him to respond in certain ways. And I started asking questions like, what is it called that you're doing? You know, can a father learn these things? Can I go to college? Can I go to the university right here and learn some of this stuff? And they said, technically, yes, you can. You don't have to. We'll do it. I said, no, I want to learn it so that when you're not around, I can do it. And they looked at each other and they said, you want to go to college and take courses so that you can continue your son's therapy when we're not around? I said, yes. And they looked at each other and they said, call Sue. Sue Krackemeyer is their boss. And Sue Krackemeyer, to me, is an angel. That's what she is. And she called the university and she got me squared away. And I got a chance to take certification courses as a student, an adult student. I got to walk in and take classes, become a member of the community, ended up on the committee board for Governor Inslee in Washington State because of Sue. So she always would say, here's a father who was willing to go and take college courses to better himself as a father. I ended up being a speaker at the convention. Every year they have a convention in Tacoma. And one of those years they had me come and be a speaker. And I got a chance to speak to other parents. And that was mind-blowing to have 2,000 professional people who do this every day. And most of them were all women. They actually did a count. There was like 10 men in the building, and I'm one of the 10. And to be a speaker in that environment was an honor. It was one of my greatest honors ever because they have master's degrees, sir, and they make a humble, very humble salary. And I just think to myself when I know that there's people out there who aren't doing what they do and they deserve so much respect, so much more accolades, and so much more financial support than they're getting, but they have a passion, and I love them for it, and I'm grateful that I can meet people like that.
So you moved from Houston to
Washington State because I wanted better for my son. I was doing a college visit. I wanted to know, am I going to go to this school? Am I going to live here? And without ever really thinking it through, my son got the best of everything, and I didn't even realize that every single person that ever saw my son as a therapist had a master's or a PhD. That is mind-blowing. This town, sir, has less than 30 traffic lights. So you have to, when I talked about wanting positive around my son, the Lord said, go there, and I went.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing.
So I'm grateful. I'm grateful. That's a beautiful town. I'll miss them dearly.
Was there some meaningful advice you got from these therapists or that group?
Yes.
That helped you better put this whole situation with Hezi in perspective?
Hezi being developmentally delayed, they told me that you may need to say things to him and explain things to him many times, not once, not twice. You're going to have to be more patient than the average parent needs to be. Your child is going to have some issues with comprehension. We're stressing this to you because we don't want you to get frustrated and think your child is ignoring you. So they gave me tricks and little tests to run to say things to him where I would, which is very military-like, ironically, I would say to my son, hey, please take your items from my room and bring them to your room. Do you understand that? He goes, yes. And I'll go, Hezekiah, what did I just ask you to do? And he'll say, I love you, Daddy. And then I'll say, Hezekiah, please take your items from my room and bring them to your room. Take my pillow? Yes. And what else? And my blankie? Yes. And what else? And my toys? Yes. And where do I put them? And I'll stop. I would breathe. Remember that the therapist taught me he's not ignoring me. He's not playing with me. It's my son. It's just what it is. And I would say, you're going to put it in your room, son. And they'll go, okay, I'm going to go and put my pillow in my room. And he'll run out and leave everything else. And then minutes would pass. And for what I know as a child, I would have got a spanking for. I just put my hands together and I pray. And I ask God for strength. And I call his name, Hezekiah. He comes over. And I say it again. It's like Groundhog's Day every day. And I just keep going because I know he's going to get it one day. That's my only hope. And then I'll say, you forgot your blankie. I did? Yes. Please take your blankie to your room. And he'll do that. Minutes will pass, and I'll have to just keep going. So with us, I always say, people say time moves fast. No, it doesn't. When you have a special needs child, time goes so slow. And you feel like you're in your own world because everyone else's kid is everyone else's child. And you have to just say that. Everyone else's child is everyone else's child. I'm focusing on my son at this moment, and we're in his world. So I'll take a knee. The therapist taught me to get eye level with him. And I'll say, Hezekiah, I love you. And he'll give me a hug, and I love you too, Daddy. Can you please grab that one toy and put it in the room? And this is when it happens. He'll say, Daddy, did you tell me to take my pillow, my blanket, and my toy to my room? Yes, I did. That's when I know he gets it. That's when I know he gets it. He'll say, I'm sorry. I forgot my pillow. And I'm like, it's okay. It's just a pillow. And then I have to take all that military, all that drill sergeant, all that special forces, all that CIA, Guantanamo stuff. I'm just a dad right now. Loving this kid. And I just go, he got it. He heard me say all that. It just took 20 to 30 minutes to process. So, yeah, that's what I got from the therapist. Eye contact, patience, which I call sniper school, pretty much. Repeating things over and over again. Every parent does that, so that's not special. But when you go to special forces training, Green Beret stuff, you learn how to speak to a foreign-speaking person who speaks no English, but get them to get what you're trying to teach. We call it Barney level. I have to Barney level everything with my son. And they're telling me I may have to do this the rest of his life. And I said, well, that's great because I'm his dad the rest of his life. I'm ready to do it. So, sorry.
Yeah, well, I admire your commitment
Yes,
and patience. And, it reminds me, and I'm going to have to, I'd like to do this in person as opposed to by mail. But I don't think you know about this either. Well, I know you know what a challenge coin is because you're in the military.
Yes, challenge coins.
And we were looking for one that would be great to use for dads, and we couldn't find one, so we had one.
Oh, that is awesome.
We had this made up. You can't read it.
Oh, I like it.
But
that's awesome.
It says great dads are present physically, emotionally, and spiritually.
Yes.
And there are 4 words. There's a lot of symbolism in this coin, but there are 4 words, and you basically hit on 3 of the 4 words just intuitively. One is love, one is patience, one is commitment, and the 4th is honesty. Those are the 4 universal principles that I think all great dads possess.
Yes.
And it's pretty obvious to me that that's who you are.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
So anyway, I'm going to try to figure out how to get you one of these, but more importantly, in the form of a handshake, because they're meant to be delivered in the form of a handshake.
Thank you so much.
So now that I've wiped my tears away,
I'm sorry.
And just to be real about this stuff, Tony, um, what are some of the fears that you face as a father, solo parent of a young son with special needs?
When you're solo, which I appreciate you for explaining the difference to me about when you're solo, you don't think anybody else is going to get this. And I think of, I fall back. I learned from Denzel Washington in one of his commemorative speeches at a university. Don't fall back. Don't worry about having a fall back. He said fall forward. So in my head, I think I'm going to be his father. I'm going to be there for him. I'm going to be his mentor. But you don't expect anybody else to get this. So yes, that means number one fear, I'm going to be alone for the rest of my life. And I know that to some in America, being a man, that is just bonkers because everyone doesn't believe when I say there isn't a woman there. They're like, well, why not? Just get a girlfriend. No. My wife was an Eastern Star, is always will be, a master's degree holder. She, to me, was the epitome of what amazing is. And that's what every husband should see his wife as. You don't replace that with mediocre. I'm just not going to do it. I refuse to. So I'm not rushing that. And unless her twin on every way is produced by the Lord, it's not going to happen right now. So number one fear, my faith is all I have. And that's all that I have behind me is you're by yourself. I get to meet wonderful people along the way like yourself. So I was prepared to homeschool my son his whole life if I had to. And then everyone that I've met has said no. He needs to inclusion. He needs to be amongst other children. So next week he'll start school. And just because he wasn't caught up on certain things and he didn't test out to the level they wanted, he's going to have to do kindergarten again. And I am perfectly fine with that. When I brought the news to him, I was crying. I felt bad, and he's like, "Yay! I get to play. I get to play more with more kids and meet new friends." And I'm looking at him going, "Yeah, you get to make new friends." And I'm thinking he's gonna cry too. And again, his namesake, he is strong. He's much stronger than I give him credit for. He's looking at meeting new friends, and I'm thinking I failed him because he had to do kindergarten again. So being alone, people treating him a certain way, all these things are always on your mind as a parent. Every parent does that. That's just my real concerns is that I don't want him to be treated as less than just because he needs a little bit more explanation. And that's what developmentally delay scares you. You know how kids, when you were little, got treated. I don't want that. I don't want to go through that.
Yeah, well, thank you for being so authentic. Most men do not talk about their fears or their anxieties. And, it's obvious that one of your strengths is your transparency and your willingness to show your vulnerability. And it's something that we all would benefit from just embracing. So, again, thank you for sharing.
Thank you.
So I'm thinking about supporting organizations, and you made reference to one, which is the Washington State Fathers Network, which Luis Mendoza overseas. And I'm wondering if there's been any other organizations that you've benefited from, that Hezi has benefited from.
Oh, yes. Oh yes. Mr. Mendoza has introduced me to so many people that have like dad first and I mean like yourself, and there's other dad named organizations in Washington, but I have to look back and remind I have to remind my son every day because he'll always ask me, "Daddy, what's that mean on your shirt? What does that ring mean? Why do you wear your hat the way you do? What does that say?" He's so he looks at every detail, and I love that about him. But it's just weird to have to explain to him over and over and over again. But that being said, making the decision to become a Mason to me was one of the greatest choices I ever made as far as as far as brotherhood, manhood, chipping away at myself so I can become something better than what I was. That is always for me, that's always at the forefront, to remind myself I don't know it all. I have so much to learn. I haven't been through it all. I have so much to experience. And there are people out there who've been through this. Call on them. Ask their advice. Let them know what you're, be specific. And so I'm just grateful that between choosing to follow the Masonic path, choosing to be military, Marine, Army, whatever you are, military, we're all the same and we all love and respect each other. And there's so many military men and women who have come to my aid on some level just to say, you're not alone. Give me a high five. People think it's always about money, and it's not. It helps, yes, but it's also about getting that person to the next day. That's all I need, just to the next day. And a high five, or, oh, I love this one, I'm praying for you. Now, whether a person's religious or not, it doesn't bother me. It's just, I appreciate that so much, because then there are cheerleaders behind in the bleachers who are cheering for you, and you don't even know who they are. So for every organization I've met, I had a chance to work with, going to church every Sunday with my mother. Even if I don't take my son to church on a Sunday, he has met every member of the Osteen family. They've all prayed for him. All of Lakewood Church in Houston. You have to think about this for a second. Pastors stopped service and this is not on a TV. You're never going to see it because it was just done the way it was done. And Pastor had everyone in service that night pray over one of our security officers for our church, because I was part of the children's ministry, I was part of the hospital ministry, and we would guard the church at night, sir. So we would sit in the church in a suit, walk around, and guard the church. So I'm part of that body of family, and every member to have touched my son and prayed over him. I'm just grateful that I've met these awesome people along the way. So for everybody that I know and don't know, just thank you.
Yeah, well, what a great testimony to your faith and to those that have surrounded you. So thanks again for sharing.
Thank you.
So I'm thinking about advice now, and I'm wondering if there's any important advice that you can share, Tony, as a father of a very young boy, about raising a child with differences.
Yes, I would pass on what was given to me that's kept our relationship positive the whole time, and that is get down to any child's level as far as eye level. No, don't act as childish as they do. We should know better as adults. But take a knee. Take a sit down, take a squat. Sit on the floor. Don't worry about that. Just get to eye level. Wherever, if the child is taller than you, get on a chair. Whatever. But get to eye level with that child and let them know, one, before you correct, just like you pray, praise comes before. Tell them you love them. It doesn't matter if you know them. Love is love. Love feels good no matter. Love is love. So tell the kid you love him first. I've learned with my son, hey, Hezekiah, I love you. I love you too, Daddy. Now, whatever I say after that, he actually remembers better. I've tested this out. I didn't write a dissertation on it. It's just what I realized. Everything after I love you, he remembers. I mean, if I get angry or yell or something because he's just not listening at all, and I want to get his attention, he'll forget anything because it started off with a yell. So I avoid this, and I start with, I love you. Oh, yeah, by the way, drink your milk, please. And then he'll go, oh, yeah, my milk. It's been in front of him for 5 minutes. I'm at the table sitting there wondering why he won't drink it. He has literally heard the request so many times, but this time he's doing it. And I'm just sitting there thinking back to stalking days in the military of trying to get to gunnery sergeant so he can't see you when you're covered in the ghillie suit. I'm like, I'm right in front of you. How can you not hear me say it? And I remember I'm a parent. developmentally delayed, give him time. And then sometimes I'll say it one time and he'll surprise me because I'm at eye level. I start off with I love you. And then I make a request. Respect is not something that kids have anymore today because I think we forget that respect is taught, just like racism and bias are taught. Respect is taught. So many people have heard me call my own little child since he was 2 years old, sir. Hey, sir, come over here, sir. How you doing, sir? And I'm okay, Daddy. And people will look at me and go, why do you call your son sir? And I say, one, I'm a Christian, and two, I'm realistic. I'm cleaning his diapers now. He's going to clean my diapers then. I might as well give him respect. I don't want to do that job, and he's going to do it for me. So I feel with parents, I think parents, especially fathers, your daughters, your sons, your twins, whatever you have, they're going to be the ones that clean you later. And put that into perspective. So I'd call him little sir, sir. And then he says to me, do I have to say sir and ma'am to everybody? And I say yes until they tell you otherwise. Until they tell you otherwise. They give you a name, and that's how I teach it. Sir, ma'am. He hears me say it all the time. Little girls come around. How you doing, ma'am? How's everything? And they look at me all funny like, I'm not a ma'am. Yes, you are. I got to get you ready. Yes, you are. So even strangers hear this from us. So eye level, starting off with I love you, then or I hug or something, and then give a request. And giving him the respect I want him to give me, but not just me. When I'm gone, I want him to give that to everybody. And hopefully the love and the patience that I'm giving him, he gives to everybody. That's all I want from him. That's it. It's just to be happy and to love and respect others.
Yeah, very powerful. Thanks again. So I'm sort of curious to know why you've agreed to be involved with the Special Fathers Network.
When I realized where I would be if it wasn't for all these wonderful men and their spouses and their help and their families supporting them, but initially men who are showing me that men aren't all the negative things I grew up hearing. I just want to be a part of that. I want to be a part of the positive in this world. I want to make a difference and help other men who are good men who feel as if good guys finish last, first, middle. There's no place in this. You're a father, and I want you to know you have men out there like myself who are trying every single day to do the right thing, the loving thing, the good thing, the fatherly thing, and create leaders who will be great fathers too. And I just want other fathers to know they're not by themselves. The VA, I just throw this, the VA, whenever you call them, the first thing they always ask you is if you have any feelings to hurt yourself. And every time I hear that, I'm like, are you crazy? Like, I can't even think about that. Like, I don't have time for that. I got a kid who I got to get ready to become president. I got other kids we have to influence, other dads out there. And, I'm like, if I hurt me, who's going to do the job? I mean, we got to do this. So they laugh every time I call them about something because they're like, no one answers that question the way you do, Tony. I'm like, what do you mean? You asked me and I'm answering. I don't have the time to even give those thoughts life. I have to give life to life. And to me, it's just, so for the dad out there who's suffering, who thinks he can't do it, he's going to give up, don't give up. Don't give up, because you're raising a future. You're raising an extension of yourself. And if you give up, you're telling that child to give up. So that's why I want to be a part of this. I want to help other dads know, give them a perspective. You don't give up. You're not alone. We're here for you.
Wow. Well, we're thrilled to have you, even though you only have 6 years of experience being a dad. You're speaking as if you've got millennia of knowledge and insight. So thank you again. Let's give a special shout out to Luis Mendoza, the king.
Yeah, yeah, he is to me. Yeah.
At the Washington State Fathers Network for helping connect us.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Is there anything else you'd like to say before we wrap up?
No, just all the glory to God. I'm just so grateful. Thank you.
If somebody wants to be in contact with you or follow up, what would be the best way of doing that, Tony?
I'm not the most tech-savvy person, but I would always say my email hasn't changed since I joined the Marine Corps, so it's been a while. It's my name, Anthony L. Gayle @yahoo.com. It's been the same. And I just ask, please, if you're going to email me, don't be mad if I don't respond fast enough. Those who have my phone number, I don't mind them having it. Just text me and tell me, I emailed you. Look at it. And I'm like, okay. And that's 509-330-0608. Just a text saying, look at your email. Parents understand. Those of us who don't have an office, which I don't, we don't really look at emails that much. So just a little text and an email, and I'll respond to anything that I can and put you in contact with whoever can help you better than I can.
Well, that's very nice of you to make yourself available. Tony, thank you for the time and many insights. As a reminder, Tony is just one of the dads who's part of the Special Fathers Network, a mentoring program for fathers raising a child with special needs. If you'd like to be a mentor father or are seeking advice from a mentor father with a similar situation to your own, please go to 21stcenturydads.org. Thank you for listening to the latest episode of the Special Fathers Network Dad to Dad podcast. I hope you enjoyed the conversation as much as I did. As you probably know, the 21st Century Dads Foundation is a 501c3 not-for-profit organization, which means we need your help to keep our content free to all concerned. Would you please consider making a tax-deductible contribution? I would really appreciate your support. Tony, thanks again.
Thank you.
And thank you for listening to the Dad to Dad podcast, presented by the Special Fathers Network. The Special Fathers Network is a dad-to-dad mentoring program for fathers raising children with special needs. Through our personalized matching process, new fathers with special needs children connect with mentor fathers in a similar situation. It's a great way for fathers to support fathers. Go to 21stcenturydads.org. That's 21stcenturydads.org.
And if you're a dad looking for help or would like to offer help, we would be honored to have you join our closed Facebook group. Please go to facebook.com/groups and search Dad to Dad. Also, please be sure to register for the Special Fathers Network bi-weekly Zoom calls held on the first and third Tuesdays of every month. Lastly, we're always looking to share interesting stories. If you'd like to share your story or know of a compelling story, please send an email to david@21stcenturydads.org.
If you enjoyed this podcast, please be sure to subscribe on iTunes or wherever you listen. The Dad to Dad podcast was produced by Couch Audio for the Special Fathers Network. Thanks again to Ruben Law for supporting the Dad to Dad podcast. Call Ruben Law at 847-279-7999 and mention the Special Fathers Network for a free consultation. 847-279-7999.